In 2006, he became the first world champion in Trackmania, but for a while we haven't heard too much from him, so I thought we had the world championship recently, so why not talk to the world champion who won the first one? But first of all, Carl, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, NMD. So I'm Carl, I'm 28. As you said, I was the first world champion on Trackmania. And it's been like 3 years I stopped to play, but it's still a pleasure to watch other playings like in the last World Cup. Yeah.
You started a long time ago. Do you even remember your first impression of Trackmania? And if so, how was it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's like one of my biggest memory in my life. It was on the very first Trackmania. It was Trackmania original. Actually, it was on the demo. So in November 2013, I think. And yeah, it was like a dream. I remember huge emotions. At that time, I didn't know how to install a game on a computer, so I had my brother helping me. And when I saw the game on my computer, I was just fully excited. And I knew it was something that will belongs to my life for a long time.
What year was this?
What?
What year did you discover the game?
The year?
Yeah, 2004, 2003.
It was 2013. 13.
Okay. Do you remember what kind of maps you played?
Oh no, it was more for fun. So then there was some tournaments, but I don't really remember. But at the first place, it was on the three first environments, which were snow, desert, and rally. So I played on this environment for 3 years before moving to Nations, TMM Nations.
How active was the scene back in those days? I have no sort of memory or anything about it. Can you tell us how was it to play against other players back then?
You mean on which Trackmania? The first one?
The first one, yeah.
The first one. How to say? It was so different in the gameplay. I think it was more linked to the game, to the fun. Whereas Trackmania Nations, it's more competition. Yeah, I feel that it was very two different worlds. The first one was more fun, more linked to the child who liked to play. Yeah.
So let's talk about the sort of Nations game. How was your first impression of that new game?
The first impression was, oh, I can be as good as the best player even if I play with a keyboard. And it was not the case with the previous version of Trackmania, where if you played with keyboards, it was really hard to be as good as the best player with a gamepad or something like that. So yeah, the first impression was that, so it was, yeah, I can be at the top level. I didn't know I could be at the best level, but I knew I had the potential.
And you for sure showed that in 2006. What was your goals going into ESWC 2006? Was it to win it, or was it just to participate?
No, I had no goal because I was not even qualified for it. I don't know if you follow the story, but I was not among the qualified players at the beginning, and I took part of a tournament in France, which was linked to the Fnac. Fnac is a big shop in France, and there was this tournament which was local, then national, and the great final of this tournament was just before ESWC, and the winner of this tournament was then qualified for ESWC. So I won this tournament, and when I went to ESWC, then I was the challenger. So there were players in this tournament I was fan to. I remember Gallo or even Drudry. Actually, there was many players I didn't think I could beat. So I had no expectations at all. And in the first round, I understood that I could do it, but it was more like a dream, no pressure. I was just like for fun, and yeah, it went pretty well.
I made recently a YouTube series on how they became world champion. Sadly, there is not too much footage or results from the matches when you played. Can you tell us how was your road to winning it? Was it easy in every match? Did you win everything? Or how was your way to becoming the world champion?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. Actually, there were some matches with resistance, but I was very, very confident. Like I had no pressure, and my opponents had a lot of pressure because in their head it was like, come on, Carl, he was not even qualified. Was a challenger. Why should I? How could I lose in front of him? And my mind was a lot more quiet, I think. So yeah, I had this advantage, which disappeared in the next ESWCs because I had a lot of pressure then. But in this first year, it was my main advantage, to be very cool, very quiet in my mind.
And the grand final itself, was it dominant or was it a close match like we saw in 2018 where it was basically 4 people who could win everything?
Actually, the match, it was 1-on-1. So we were only 2 in grand final.
Oh.
But yeah, 2006 was 1-1-on-1. And as far as I remember, I don't remember if he won a map. Maybe it was, I think he won a map. So it was 3 maps to 1. It was pretty weird because there was a lot of spectators. We were in Bercy in Paris, and we were 2 in the middle of 15,000 people watching us. It was like very crazy. And the most crazy, how do we say, environment we had in all the competitions. So, but yeah, it was quite easy for me. I thought it would be a lot more challenging, but yeah, it went pretty well.
And now it's 12 years since you won the first World Championship.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about the day you won it, or is it a long memory that is sort of gone at the moment?
I still remember it. I have some memories, some cups, some medals. But yeah, it's also like another life.
Yeah.
Like I have many, but but yeah.
Do you feel some sort of special thing being the first world champion ever? When you talk about Trackmania, you will always talk about Carl and the first world champion. Does that make you feel extra proud of what you accomplished?
Proud, yeah. I would say it was a major event for me in terms of self-confidence, because I knew at that time that, okay, I can be the best in that field. It could have been any field, but I can be the best in one field. So yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence in all areas of my life. But yeah, proud, of course, because it was quite funny to come back home with my big check and my big cup, and nobody could ever imagine that. Most of my family didn't even know I was in World Cup. Yeah, it was a bit crazy when I came back.
Yeah, what does your family actually think about you gaming after you won it and before you won it?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
What does your family think about your sort of gaming career?
My parents were supportive, so it was very cool. As far as I was doing my homeworks and so on, and be serious at school, it was fine. They could leave me playing some, let's say, 2 hours a day. So yeah, it was cool. And then the rest of the family, yeah, didn't really care a lot, but it was always funny to tell them, yeah, I went there, I won this tournament in that country, and yeah, it was like a fairy tale, you know. I was telling all of this. It's like I was in my world, sharing my world, but I don't know if people around me could understand it, but I was fine with it.
Let's talk about ESWC 2007, the year after. What was your expectations going into that event as the defending champion?
Yeah, I wanted to win, definitely. And it was really different. I was so nervous. And I remember the great final, and we were three French in grand final. And yeah, I was shaking like hell. I was really happy to finish second because I played a lot. Yeah, I was bad compared to what I could be, so it was a good result for me. But I was so nervous, really so nervous. It was like I knew what I could do, and that pressure was a lot more than ever before. So actually from 2007 and the next years, I had to learn how to deal with this pressure.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say that the pressure was the one that beat you almost. If you was the same guy as in 2006, you would probably have won it, or?
Yeah.
Huh.
Definitely.
So the mental aspect of the game became a big part of your career. In what ways did you actually try to train this or avoid it?
That's interesting. It can become a bit esoteric in that field because actually I did a lot of self-development, like trying to improve my self-confidence, trying to put myself in situation I could have difficulties to deal with, see how I could evolve in it. And then I also had stones on myself to help energetically. I had a lot of, let's say, rituals after this to make me in a state that I could, be at my best. Because I knew when I was offline, I could do super times. I could be very, among the best. If you put even the best player in an environment which is very difficult to deal with, it can become played like a noob. So I did all what I can do or imagine and test. Actually, I test all of this to make me in the best way to succeed in this event.
Huh. Let's talk about another ESWC. In 2010, you were pretty close to becoming the first one to actually win it twice, but Bergie won it in the end. What do you recall from that event when you were finalist against Bergie?
Yeah, actually, it's one of the biggest events in my life in terms of challenge and in terms of learning. I learned a lot of that defeat. So this tournament, I should have won it. It was clear. It was written in in anything. I was so confident. I was so good. I remember going to grand final. Yeah, I was like super good, a lot better than anyone in that competition. And when I arrived in grand final, it was different. I felt like I had more pressure, but it was still fine. And I faced one of my nightmare, let's say, at the end of the grand final, and I was finalist. And I imagined at that time that I could lose. And that idea never went in my mind before that moment. I was like super sure to win. And when that idea came to my mind that I could lose, it was like I felt so everybody could win in front of me. I was not existing anymore in that match because I was not in the present moment, you know. I was not super focused on what I was doing, but I was focused on what my mind was saying. So I was literally struggling with myself. And it was awesome because after this competition, I learned to project myself in all the scenario possible. So if I went to a competition, I was ready to win, but I was already also ready to lose. And if I was in peace with these two scenarios, I can be at my best. But if I was only focused on the win and that I refused to lose, then I was afraid to lose, and then I lose.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a great lesson for me, and a lesson that I learned to improve my life in all fields.
This was the first event you had the finalist mode. You have talked a little bit about it, but what is your overall feeling about finalist mode?
I love it. I love it because it's like the game is not finished until you win the last point. So I think it's a very fair mode. It's like you play tennis. If you don't win the last point, you don't win the match. So in most of sports, it's like that. So I feel it very, very fine. And I think that people who don't like the finalist mode are the ones who have a lot of pressure in this moment and do not know how to deal with pressure. So for me, a great player is a player which can be good in the world match, but most of all, to be at his best in the finalist mode. Yeah.
You played a lot of ESWCs. Besides the three I mentioned, is there any story or match that sticks out, or something you wish you had accomplished at the ESWC?
I'm not sure to understand your question.
Is there any particular ESWC event that sticks out for you, sort of a favorite one?
A favorite session of how to say yeah, I had many they are all different. Like 2006 is the main one, of course. I won it. 2010 is biggest consciousness shift for me, and there were many tournaments with Frostbureau and the Austrian Pedzi and Frostbureau. We had a lot of tournaments where we were the three at the best, and it was amazing. I remember being at my best level in all these tournaments, and we were yeah, very, very tight, very close in all the matches. And I think there was the tournaments where I had the more pleasure to play, because there I saw that some players were at the same level as me, and we had to give everything at everyone to win. Yeah, there were many. I think there were one in Berlin, WCG Europe. It was awesome. Yeah, so actually they were all good.
The biggest event ever hosted in Trackmania, at least when it comes to prize pool, is the Verizon Playlink event. Was hosted in 26. What do you remember from that event, and what did you think about the event itself, actually?
Actually, I did not really understand why this event took place, but it was cool. I was disappointed by what I did, so I finished fourth. I could have been a lot better, but yeah, we were playing at home, so very different from being live. Yeah, it's hard to say because the maps were totally weird. So you had big jumps, you have loopings everywhere. Yeah, it was quite weird. Yeah, I had not a lot of fun with it because it was not live. But I remember it was really, yeah. The prices were so high that, yeah, I wanted to win. But it was weird.
Almost like the Serrator Cup these days, if you follow that event.
I don't follow, but
okay, so it's a big event with the weird maps, but the pros still play it because of the money.
Okay.
Let's talk about some other events like the World Cyber Games you talked briefly about. You finished third in 2010, I believe, after Frostbuel. What was your recollection of that event? I believe it was played in America as well.
This one was in China, I think.
In China, okay.
Yeah, as far as I remember, yeah. China was awesome. I think it's the best travel I did in all my competitions. In that event, I don't know if we talk about the same one, but I remember this one. So it was Karjan, I think. Karjan had won in front of Frostbuel. And there was no loser bracket in this tournament, and I was in front of Karjan and Frostbuel in semi-final, and it was so close, and I lose in semi-final with no possibility to join the great final. And yeah, I was pretty disappointed by the fact there was no loser bracket, because I could have been at least third in this tournament. But WCG was less spectacular than ESWC. There were always less people watching, so it was different. It was really competition based with less fun, I think, than ESWC.
Yeah, what do you think about actually just having just one singular bracket instead of loser bracket as well? What do you favor the most? Is it double elimination or single?
Oh, sorry, you mean?
At the ESWC, you normally have like a double elimination bracket. Yeah. You can lose a match and then come back. But at the World Cyber Games, you just had one. What is your favorite if you had to pick one style or one format?
I don't know. Having a loser bracket is more fair, I would say, because you can be against two big players and fall very early. So yeah, it's more fair. But if you come to the tournament to win, any of the way is fine, because you you come to win, so loser bracket or winner bracket is the same. So I think it depends what are your expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These days, there are some rumors about Trackmania coming back to DreamHack. You have played Trackmania at DreamHack. What do you think about that experience? Would you like to see Trackmania back at DreamHack, or is it? Yeah. What do you think about this event?
Yeah. DreamHack. It's like it's like huge. It's very fun. It's very complex. You have big rooms everywhere. You have games everywhere. You can eat and sleep in that building. So yeah, it's a crazy space. But at the same time, the tournament itself was not so good. Like, we were a bit isolated, so it may differ from game to game. Maybe Trackmania was not the star game of the tournaments, of these events. But yeah, actually, it's a really nice experience to go there. I think it's more to have fun than playing a great competitions. But yeah, we can do both. So yeah, it could be nice to have Trackmania back there.
The last sort of event I want to bring up is Gamers Assembly. You are one of the few people who have won the World Championship and Gamers Assembly. And if I am correct, you have won Gamers Assembly a lot of times. Can you tell us what is your history at Gamers Assembly?
Like in other French events, there was always a very good level. So we had Yo-Yo, Kronos, Rapt, yeah, a lot of good players every time, every year. So it was always very fun because we were like family, and very competitive because there was a very high level. Gamer Assembly specifically is one of the biggest, I think, in France. So yeah, it's still a great pleasure to win this one. But yeah, I would say every French event was for me a really nice moment to enjoy, to play, and to win when I win. But yeah, still a very nice moment.
And talking about you winning both the Gamers Assembly and ESWC, you might make the argument that you are one of the best players of all time. What is your view on it? Who is the best player Trackmania has ever seen?
Yeah, what a question. It's funny because there are some legends. I may be one because I'm the first one to win, but you have Rosbuell, you have Sander, that Estonian guy.
Yep.
There was a Nemesis, I think it was a Finland guy. No, actually, the Carl Jr., of course. I don't really know the new one, but I saw the Eula's video with some rounds of the great final. It was like crazy.
Huh.
Actually, I'm not sure I can tell who is the best, but we had a lot of legends, and I think that game is very special because you can have a great player coming from nowhere, playing some month and disappear. You don't know where he come from, and it can be at the best level on that game, which is really hard to be at the best level. So yeah, hard to say, but it has always been really nice for me to see people coming at their best, like Carl Jr. With Carl Jr., I was playing with him on small maps before he became really, really good, and we were dominating the servers. It was very cool, but I could never have imagined he would become so good after that. So it was a real pleasure actually to see that players evolving and coming at their best.
Yeah, talking about Carl Jr., you are Carl. Some people confuse you both. I talked to Carl Jr. He said, why does Carl name himself Carl when his real name is Dorian? Can you tell us what is the reason why you're actually named Carl in Trackmania?
Yeah, there is no reason. I may have saw a film at that time and with the main characters named Cole, but it was in 2013. I was really young. I needed a nickname, and I had to choose. And really, seriously, I don't know why I chose it, but yeah, it followed me. So.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that two of the biggest legends in this game are named the same. Just one guy had to put Junior behind his name because you already had taken Carl.
Yeah, it's funny, yeah.
You talked about a little bit about following the game and the level. How would you compare the level you see today to the level you had? Would you say that Carl from ESWC 2006 could compare or could compete with the guys today?
No, not from 2006. The level was not that high, but maybe after, yeah, in maybe 2010 or 12, at that time the level was coming to, let's say, perfection or like this. Actually, we knew how to be at the best level. We were not maybe as how do we say it? As we could not be regular on like world records or like today's when we see those players playing. Hard to say. In myself, I really think that I could come back and be at the best level and compete with the best players. But yeah, let's say it would need for me a lot of time, whereas I'm not sure to want that. But let's say that the level today is really insane. I'm sure I could be at that level, but it would need a lot of training.
What do we have to do to motivate you to come back? What is the reason why you don't play Trackmania anymore?
I have other priorities. Yeah, actually, I'm more linked to nature than to my computer now. So, but yeah, it's still. When I think about that, about the game, I knew how the emotions were awesome, how what I lived in all these events is like something I could not find in any other field. So sometimes I have nostalgia for all of this. But let's say if I come back in the game, it would need for me to train a lot, because having pleasure to come back at the best level. So I'm not sure to be ready for that.
Can you tell us, when did you actually leave the game and what was the main reason for it? You said nature or other stuff in life coming up, but when did you leave it?
I don't really remember when I left it, but it was like natural. I felt like it was time for me to retire. But I didn't plan it. Didn't plan it. Yeah, actually, I launched my own business like 4 years ago, so I needed time to develop it. Yeah, it might be in that period of time where my priorities in life change. But I don't really remember. Actually, I don't remember saying I stopped Trackmania. I never said that. Maybe I never stopped, actually. It's just like a break.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But if I may ask, people might wonder what you are doing today. What is the first world champion in Trackmania doing these days? Can you tell us what is your life these days?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I help people feeling good in life. So I'm like a life coach. So I help them in their challenges or of any kind. Which is funny. What is funny is that some key life I learned were in Trackmania, were in these awesome events. So then I'm a lot linked to spirituality, to energetical stuff, which helped me at that time in competitions, and now I help others to accomplish things or simply to be at peace in their life. So all this kind of stuff. So I have a YouTube channel. I write books. I already wrote 5 books, and I organize some events where people meet and we study all of this, and and yeah, that's it.
Maybe you can come back and be sort of a motivational coach for players in Trackmania, if not a player yourself.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Yeah. I never really thought about that, but yeah, I already speak about this with some friends. It could have been fun, but yeah, I'm not sure players on video games are really open to that, because there is this fun perspective. You play in first play for fun, then for competitions, but you based majority your efforts on your training, physical training. But you know that when you take sports like halterophilia or any high level sports in tennis or so on, people train physically but also train mentally, energetically, emotionally, and actually it's a whole package. You can't be the best player in the world if you only train your physical skill. It's like a whole package.
If my last question for you, what was your actual age when you won ESWC 2006? How old were you?
Yeah, I was 16.
So, if my research is correct, you're still the youngest world champion ever.
I don't know, Carl Jr.
Yeah, he also won when he was 16, but I believe you were younger in days.
Ah, yeah, probably.
So that's also a little fun fact you can have. You're still the youngest one to actually win the world championship.
And yeah, your question is?
Yeah, it was just what your age was. I was doing some research and I didn't find your official age, so I wanted to ask. But is there a story or moment that you want to share with the people of Trackmania, or a topic? I'm running out of questions, so.
What should I share? I think the most important part is to, one, having fun. It's a game, and we play the game to have fun. It's really when you lose that fun part, you can't win a tournament, to me. And second is to live fully that present moment. If you go in your mind and your mind come to say you're gonna lose, or you don't like this map, or you're in finalist mode, you're gonna crap, and so on, you can't be at your best. So my only advice is, one, to have fun, and two, to be where you're at. So you're in, for example, in finalist mode in your match, and you play your round now, and you think to nothing else than playing this round, because it's all what counts in that moment. So yeah, it would be my advice.
That's good words from the world champion himself. Is there any people you want to give a shout out to, someone who has made your career special?
Yeah, of course. There was Tracker, Rapt, and Sully. We had a lot of very good times together. We were in LDLC team, majority in LDLC team. Actually, all the French player, we were having a lot of fun at every event. I'd like to thank also all the very great players I played against in those tournaments, because yeah, without them, I shouldn't have that pleasure to play these events. Actually, it was very enjoyable to play because there was a very high level. When you win something and it's too easy, you have no fun. It's too easy. There is no competition or so on. So yeah, it was really nice for that. And actually, that game is a great part of my life, and I can just really grateful for all what it brings to me in my life, and yeah, all areas in my life. Yeah, that's it.
That's it, man. Thank you so much for doing this, and I hope one day I'll actually see you play at that Trackmania event and that you made a comeback.
Yeah, the future will tell us. Thank you, MD. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Bye bye.
Bye.